Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Monday, August the 10th. Brand new trading week. There's a couple things to talk about. We do have core CPI along with core PPI later into the week. We have a couple earnings as well. As for last week, we ended up having a nice rally towards the upside on the SPY Qs along with the SMH as well. We had a couple semis move higher. So quite a bit of things to talk about coming into this week. A lot of names pushing up nicely and setting up on the higher time frames, of course. Before we head on to the charts, there's a couple of things to talk about. We'll go into the economic calendar here in a second. We'll take a look at the earnings calendar. What's up, everyone? Good morning, Kelvin, B Roots, J10. Good morning, Carl. Really like your new IG profile. Long time to see your vlogs too. Yeah, I honestly haven't used IG in a very long time. I haven't posted in about 2 years, but we'll see if I start posting a couple reels once again. Hopefully, I'll try and get to posting some reels. But yeah. That being said, let's see. What's up, Knight? Good morning, Maria. AT. What's up, Cody, Gerald, Robert, Martin. Good morning, Wallace, Juan. What's up, Andy, Deuce, Lamit, Andrea. What's up, everyone? Maria, Deuce, Venus, Julius, Zenas. What's up, Ken, Eliza? Good morning, Monty. What's up, Aaron? What's up, Yen? Yeah, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Let me pull up the economic calendar here and we will get started. So, first things first, over the weekend, we didn't have too much red folder news last week as well. We did have a couple of things to talk about. If we're talking about last week, we had some non-farm enrollment change that was pretty big in the markets. We had a really big reaction off that. Ultimately, we didn't have too big of a move on Friday. As for this week, no red folder news Monday and Tuesday. Core CPI on Wednesday, that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the month over month along with the year over year. On Thursday, we have core PPI month over month along with the unemployment claims. That's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday, we have the core retail sales. And we also have the prelim consumer sentiment as well. So core PPI along with core CPI, that's going to be fairly important here for the markets. If we're talking about the earnings calendar, there's a couple more things to keep an eye out for. Coming into this week, at least for today, Berkshire Hathaway right in the morning, Rocket Labs, ASTS. Those are some things to keep an eye out for. QUBT, quantum computing. We have HIMS. That's tonight as well. A couple other ones, right? USAR, Trump's in this one. If we're talking about the major ones this week, SMCI, CRWV, along with LITE and Firefly. These are a couple big ones to keep an eye out for. MBIS, that's going to be on Wednesday before the market opens. I know a lot of you guys like MBIS, a very hot name that's been running this year. Cisco, that's going to be after close, and then a recent IPO, CBRS. Those are the main ones coming to this week. So SMCI, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be fairly big, at least for Thursday. Not too many other ones to keep an eye out for, maybe AMAT. But besides that, really Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be your big days coming into this week. As for some names that have been running quite a bit, right? Palantir, we have a couple Meg 7 names that have been running nicely after earnings. So a lot of names to go over coming into this week. With that being said, I'm going to head on to some charts here now. Let me just grab some water here and then we'll get started. Okay, so let's head on to the higher time frames here on the SPY along with the QQQ, starting off with SPY. on the weekly time frame. As you can see, the weekly time frame very bullish. Last week we ended up closing well above our previous week's candle, plus we broke outside of this range here as well. So the weekly time frame is bullish on the SPY with a strong candle close. If we're looking at this on the daily time frame here as well, we just have this period of consolidation marked out. Moving forward here on the SPY, we're just going to maintain a bullish bias. As long as you can hold above that 760, we're going to be looking for continuation towards the upside. Preferably either now just the break above our last week's highs for continuation, or the pullback down and towards that 760 would be fine for continuation towards the upside. What are the major levels that I have coming into this week? What I have marked out is going to be that 770, which is our previous day lows. And we also have our 772, which is really the area that we pulled back from Friday. We had a couple of rejections off this area here as well. So coming into today, we're just going to mark out that previous day highs. If we can maintain above that previous day highs, we can look for a continued push up and towards that pre-market highs and above. Above our pre-market highs, then we can see room all the way back up in towards our 775, along with our 777 in this case, which is our all-time highs. So we're going to be looking for continuation, of course, coming into this week for a pushback towards the upside. If we look at the ES, very similar thesis here, very strong push towards the upside last week, consolidation later into the week. Now we're just going to be looking for continuation back towards the upside. In this case, the key levels that we have marked out is going to be that previous day highs. Above our previous day highs, hold for a push up in towards our pre-market highs and potentially our last week's highs, which in this case is our all-time highs here on the ES. Only way we're going to be a little bit more patient if we kind of reject off this previous day highs area, we come back in between its previous day's range, then we're going to be a little bit more hands off here in the markets. If we took a look at the weekly time frame here on the QQQ, you can see this one is fairly bullish here as well. So broke above our previous week's candle, pretty strong weekly candle close as well, back towards the upside. So you can see nice lower wick, and then the next candle enclosed its previous week's candle, plus it broke above a couple highs as well. So we broke structure back towards the upside here on the daily chart. Once we broke back above this 690, we are at a key level of resistance. So moving forward here for the QQQ, we just want to see the break above that 730, the hold above that 730 for continuation all the way back up in towards that all-time highs. If you go into the hourly time frame here, that's going to be the key level coming into market open. We just have our 726 marked out. You can see a little bit of rejection here on Wednesday. So far here in the pre-market, a little bit of sellers are stepping in here as well. So if we do want to see upside coming into today above our previous day highs, number one, preferably above our our 726 and a hold above that for continuation towards the upside. So we need it above our 726. This is a higher time frame key level of resistance, as you can see right here. So we'd like to see it above our 726 for continuation. If we do pull back, we could form some sort of higher low here on the hourly time frame and create a double bottom here off that 720, but preferably now above our previous day highs and above the 726 for any sort of continuation towards the upside here on the QQQ. If we go on to the NQ, similar thesis here, we needed to see it above our 30,000 on the higher time frames. If you can get above that 30,000, we can definitely see some continuation towards the upside. If we pull back, then we're going to be looking for this higher low here on the hourly time frame to hold for this continued pushback towards the upside here as well. So that's what I have for the NQ along with the ES and SPY and Qs coming into market open here today. If we take a look at the SMH, SMH here on the weekly time frame, we did close back above its previous week's candle high with a nice strong candle close. This is our first sign of bullish price action here as well, after pulling back since June. If we look at this on the daily time frame, right now we are at a key level of resistance. We can just mark this out right here, which happens to be that 584. You can see this is the area that we broke down from. So as we're coming back up, you can see a little bit of rejection. If you want to see a flip back towards the upside, we like to see longs back above this 584. So if you go back onto the hourly time frame for the SMH, the key technical levels that we have marked out, we can just mark this out right here. It's going to be that 584. You can see a couple rejections here last week, couple rejects on Friday as well. So coming into this week, we like to see it above that 584 along with our 588. Above our previous day highs, we can see continuation towards the upside. If we do pull back, we could see a higher low here on the hourly time frame right off that 580 for continuation back towards the upside here as well. So on the daily chart, we need to see a candle close, similar thing to the QQQ, back above that 590. Right, the Qs we need to see above our our 728. For the SMH, we needed to see it above our 590 here on the higher time frame. So with that being said, let's go on to the IWM and then we'll head on to some tech names that we have here. The IWM looks good on the daily time frame. We are forming this cup and handle here. So what I would like to see is the break above, right? The hold of that 298 and now the break above this 302. So if you go into the hourly time frame, key technical levels that we have marked out is going to be that 302, the break above that 302, hold for continuation towards the upside. So that's what I like for IWM above our previous day highs, 301.50, and preferably above that 302.50 on the higher time frames. The daily chart, we like to now see that continuation back above that previous day highs and above. So with that being said, let's head on to some tech names that we have coming into this week here now. If you guys do have any charts or any tickers that you'd like me to go over, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, I appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. Let's see if we can get to 200 likes today. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below as well. Okay, first things first, let's take a look at Tesla. So Tesla here on the daily time frame. This one, of course, a couple weeks ago, we had a gap down with earnings and we so far have based. We end up having a pushback towards the upside last week. We had a bullish weekly candle close. We are still, of course, bearish on the higher time frames. But as you can see, last week's candle close, we had a little bit of a lower wick, broke back above its previous week's candle, and now we're gravitating back up in towards this 340. That's going to be key on the higher time frames. If we just reject off this 340, we're going to see a continued push right back towards the downside. So for Tesla, the key levels that I have marked out is this 340. And we also have a couple key levels from last week. So if we're looking at this here on the hourly time frame, the key technical levels that we have coming into this week is going to be that 328 along with our previous day highs. If we can maintain above this 328, we can see this push up in towards that previous day highs. Above our previous day highs, we can see that 340 here as well. If we do break underneath that 328, we're going to see a little bit weaker price action and a potential push down in towards that previous day close. As for Tesla, I've been a lot more neutral as of recent. We're just going to be waiting for the reaction that we have off key technical levels. As you can see for Tesla, this one's just respecting technical levels, came up, rejected, came down in towards that previous day highs, pretty strong bounce. And we end up closing fairly neutral. Of course, we were above our previous day highs, but closed in between its previous day's range. So for Tesla moving forward, we are just going to be a lot more patient. It is in between its middle of the range. We are leaning slightly bullish, but not by a lot. This one could very much well flip and turn bearish here on the higher time frame. So for Tesla, just keep an eye out on key technical levels, previous day highs, previous day lows, along with that 328. As for AMD, this one I do like. It is consolidating. If we're taking a look at this on the weekly time frame for AMD, after this nice push up, we've just been consolidating inside of this range for the past 2 to 3 months. So for AMD, the key technical levels that we have marked out is our five, really the main levels that we have marked out is that 560 along with that 440. Other levels that we have marked out here as well after earnings is our 500, our 470. These are the main levels after we had earnings last week. So for AMD, as you can see, we've been consolidating, rejecting here off this 500. We're most likely going to come back down into our key level of support, which is our 470. So for AMD, the bounce off that 470 for a pushback towards the upside. Of course, the best case for longs is going to be above our 500 for any sort of continued push towards the upside. Right now, we're just ranging. If we do get underneath that earnings low, potentially we can see some more room down in towards that 450 here and below on AMD. So we have our previous high highs along with that 470 marked out. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of my favorite names coming into this week. As you can see, last week, we ended up breaking outside of the range that we have marked out. Really strong weekly candle close here as well, breaking outside of its previous consolidation. Plus, we had a fairly strong candle close as well. Opened up, push towards the upside, essentially close at the highs, very small upper wick with a strong body. Now the next levels that we're going to be looking for NVIDIA to gravitate towards is going to be this all-time highs key area. If you go into the daily time frame, what are the levels that I have marked out? We have that 210, and now we have our previous week's highs. Moving forward, as long as you can maintain above key technical levels, really above this 212, we're going to be looking for this push up in towards that 232 along with that all-time highs here on NVIDIA. So the key levels coming into this week, what I'm going to have marked out is going to be our 222. Multiple touches here. Coming to market open, I would like to see this level be defended for a push up in towards that previous pre-market highs and above. If we do break underneath, which we're currently trying to do, and we kind of reject here off this 222, I'm going to be a little bit more patient on NVIDIA. A higher time frame is still very much bullish. So I'd like to see it above this 222, preferably above our previous day highs, along with our pre-market highs for continuation towards the upside. So keep an eye out on NVIDIA coming into this week. This one is holding up very nicely. As for Apple, this one's right into our 316. I did not go over SpaceX as of yet. I'm going to head on to SpaceX here in a second. So the key levels that we have marked out is our 316, multiple touches here. If we want to see some upside above that 316 hold for continuation towards the highs. If we reject here off this 316, we can see a push right back towards the downside. Key levels on Apple is just going to be that earnings kind of key high. We also have our previous day highs here as well. If we look at Apple, key technical levels that we have marked out is at 314, a little bit of rejection here in the pre-market. If you do want to see continuation towards the upside, you like to see it above that 314 for any sort of continuation towards the highs. So that's what we have for Apple. As for Google, this one pulled back. We had some news last week here as well. A little bit of rejection here off that 380. As for Google moving forward, we just like to see the reaction that we have really off this 355. If we can get back above, potentially we can see a mean reversion back towards the upside. If we reject off this 355, we're going to see continue push right back towards the downside. Microsoft, if we go on to the daily chart, is fairly bullish. Key technical levels that we have marked out here on Microsoft is just going to be that 460. Any sort of dip that we do have, we want to see continuation towards the highs. Right? Key technical levels that we have marked out is at 499. Hold above that for continuation higher. Meta is one of my favorite charts coming into this week. We are bouncing here off our key technical level support. We are forming this daily flag pattern here that I mentioned. Meta is on watch coming into this morning. We are breaking outside of this kind of flat top that we have formed. Let's keep an eye on Meta above our 600 for continuation towards the upside. So let's keep an eye on this previous day highs for a push higher, a hold of that previous day highs for a continued push towards the upside coming into market open. keep an eye out on Meta. As for Amazon, this one broke out to that all-time highs last week. We did have a little bit of a pullback. If we look at this weekly time frame, we did kind of reject right off that all-time highs. So we need to see price back above that all-time highs if you want to see any sort of continuation. We're kind of forming this daily flag pattern here, but we need it above our 280. That's going to be key. So you can see 280, a little bit of rejections here on Friday. We are forming this hourly downtrend break that we have as well. If you'd like to see continuation above our previous day highs, hold for a pushback towards the upside. So that's what I have on Amazon coming into market open. As for Netflix, the key technical levels that I have marked out is going to be that 75, hold above 75 for continuation towards the upside. And of course, for SpaceX, this one's having a nice bounce off the lows. We recently had earnings, key bounce off a key technical level of support. We are above our earnings high. For SpaceX, we're right at that really pre-IPO price, which is that 135. There's room back up in towards 150. So for SpaceX, with this pretty strong bounce here, we recently had the shares being unlocked as well on Friday. I wouldn't mind seeing a bounce on SpaceX up in towards 150, which is that pre-IPO price. And that's going to be the key levels moving forward. So SpaceX key levels 150. If we can break above our previous day highs, which we already are in the pre-market, we do have room up in towards 140 and potentially 150 coming into this week, especially if we hold key levels here on SpaceX. So keep an eye out on that previous day highs plus that earnings high coming into this week. Okay, with that being said, we are pretty good on time here. We do have quite a bit of tickers that we can go over here now. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below here as well. NQ, I already went over NQ. You can rewind the stream tech guy. Where do I find your live stream when you execute the trades? I do that in my Discord. That is in the description below as well. Thanks for yesterday's YouTube video. I had a question on Palantir trade you took. Wasn't a discretionary entry since the reclaim was invalidated. Since the reclaim entry was invalidated, but you still re-entered, 84% rule. If you're looking at Palantir hard tick, right, just go on the 5-minute time frame. You can see right here, break above on the 5-minute, retest, continuation towards the upside. So if you're looking at this on the 5-minute, you just basically had a classic 5-minute opening range break towards the upside. If you're of course on the 1-minute time frame, right, in this case the entry, right, there's two different entries. It wasn't invalidated on the 1-minute time frame. I could have held it down into that down close candle, but I was just trading on Friday's contract. So re-entered, right, entered in here, took some off on the first one, stopped at the remaining, but as soon as it reclaimed back above, right, there's so many different entries on Palantir. You could have been looking for that first aggressive entry. You could have been looking for the reclaim setup. You could have been looking for the retest. So there's really 3 different entries on Palantir. All of them were just based off the thesis of higher time frames, very bullish, plus you had their 5-minute opening range there as well. So regardless of the actual entry in itself, the logic would have been the same. If we're taking a look at Palantir here, this one is actually one of my favorite charts coming into this week. We're still expecting continuation towards the upside here as well. So we broke above our 160. You can see really strong weekly candle. Of course, we did have earnings, but very strong weekly candle here on Palantir, breaking outside of this consolidation that we've had. Plus, we're kind of retesting its previous kind of key technical levels. So for Palantir, nice bounce, moving forward above our 160, continuation towards the upside. What are the key levels that I have marked out? Really, the key levels that I do have marked out here on Palantir is our 164. So our 164 here is key. That is kind of the area that we bounced from on Friday, or sorry, not on Friday. We rejected here earlier into the week. Once we got above here on Friday, nice continuation towards the upside. So for Palantir, if we're taking a look at this on the hourly time frame, right, really strong continuation higher. Technically, the higher low here on Palantir is going to be off for 164, last week's highs. Another possible scenario above our pre-market highs for continuation towards the upside here as well. So this is what I have on Palantir. On the daily chart, we're fairly bullish. I wouldn't even mind this kind of retest here on the daily time frame for a continued pushback towards the upside. So 164 could be an area where we're interested in for a pullback here on Palantir after that big push up on Friday. If buyers just step in right off the bat, then we're just going to be looking for some sort of intraday setup for a pushback up in towards that pre-market highs, right? What would that intraday setup look like? It would be more so kind of this like pre-market low bounce for continuation or some sort of previous day high retest for continuation back towards the upside. AVGO, this one's pushing up nicely. This is one of my favorite tickers as well on the daily chart. This one is consolidating. You can see last week we did recently break back above a couple key technical levels here on AVGO. So a lot of consolidation. Last week's weekly candle close, fairly bullish. We're back inside this daily gap here as well. So if we're looking at this on the daily time frame, for AVGO, we did reclaim back above key levels. What would I like to see here? We're also inside that daily gap here now as well. AVGO does have a lot of room back towards the upside. If we want to see continuation above our 430, we have room all the way back up and towards 470 here. So AVGO, keep an eye on AVGO coming into this week. We'd like to see the hold. It's really that 427 for continuation towards the upside. I would like to see AVGO. You can see tried breaking out a couple times last week above that 427. Now I'd just like to see that hold of that 427 push towards the upside. Above our previous day highs, we can see continuation towards the upside here as well. Okay, let's go on to a couple other tickers. MU, a lot more consolidation as of recent. For MU, we just want to see now the break back above that 920 for any sort of continuation higher. You can see the market's been moving nicely. MU just been consolidating a little bit more. We need to see MU now break above this 920. We have multiple touches here. Higher lows are being built on the hourly. I'd like to see it above 880. I would like to really see MU above 920. So for MU, above 920, if we do kind of get underneath that 880, definitely could see a little bit more weakness on MU. SNDK earnings last week, SNDK underneath this earnings low, definitely could see a little bit of a pullback. INTC, we did have some news in the pre-market. We did have a share offering, so that's why we are pulling back here on INTC. Key technical levels that we have marked out is really that 103, that earnings high. So we had a couple rejections here right off INTC. Of course, in the pre-market, we had some news. So this one is pulling back now. We're breaking, if we break underneath that 97, could see down in towards 95 and potentially below here on INTC. So a little bit of a pullback, of course, with that news that we had. Key level is going to be that previous day lows. And for WDC, similar thing, a lot of semiconductors, more so memory, a lot weaker. If you take a look at DRAM here, this one is definitely the ETF that has been lagging the overall markets. Or if we take a look at DRAM, even the semiconductors, a little bit more bullish. The Q's a lot more bullish. And then, of course, the SPY is the one that's leading the markets. As for the memory tickers, we have been a lot weaker. As you can see, previous level of support now turning into resistance. We need to see it above our 5750 for any sort of continuation. But right now, currently, based off the hourly time frame, for DRAM, this one just looks like it's going to push all the way back down in towards our 46 here if we break underneath that previous day lows coming into market open. So that's what we have for the semiconductors and for a couple other tickers here now as well. All right, let's go on to a few other names here. MBIS, MRVL. MBIS does have earnings coming into this week. I do like MBIS, just more so on the weekly time frame. As you can see, we did have that nice bounce right off that previous all-time highs. Last week's candle, it's pretty volatile. We kind of rejected, came up into that 220, rejected. Now we're right back towards the downside. For this daily higher low, we'd like to see kind of this inverse head and shoulders play out here on MBIS. Of course, we do have earnings coming into this week as well on Wednesday before the market opens. Key levels that I have on MBIS is going to be that 180 And then, of course, we have that 200 key psych as well. So we did have a little bit of a bounce on Friday for MBIS, to maintain above that 180 for continuation, above that 200. We like to see continuation back towards the upside. MRVL right into a key technical spot here, which is the area that we broke down from. So MRVL, we need it above our 225 for any sort of continuation higher. The semiconductors right above, right, the higher low here on the daily time frame. Plus we need to break back above a key level of resistance now if you want to see any sort of continuation. There's a lot more other names that are stronger compared to some of the semis and memory tickers. So until those start to run, we're going to be a little bit more hands off and more neutral if we're looking to trade those intraday. If we're talking about long term, right, those ones are in good spots. Don't expect them to have V-shaped recoveries. But SNDK and a lot of these other names are going to take a little bit longer to develop. Thanks, Jack. Your analysis is very precise. All your analysis last week was very accurate. Nice. SNDK at 1200, still valid, but it's a long way to all-time highs. Exactly, right? SNDK, names like this, if you're looking at this on the daily chart, we just draw out our Fibonacci's. This is essentially a 50% retracement down into our 61.8. So for something like SNDK, right, don't expect this one to have a V-shape. This would be very unlikely that it had a complete V-shape recovery, right? Stocks don't move like this where it just break support on the weekly time frame and then just have this V-shaped recovery back towards the upside. Think in terms of like Palantir. Right now, Palantir, right, had this nice continuation higher, and look at how long it consolidated for before it eventually now starts to flip, right? For Palantir, this one technically has been bearish since last year of November all the way until now, which is last week, right? Names like Robinhood, right? These ones have nice bounces, but they're not going to head back up and towards all-time highs in a very short period. So for something like SNDK, all these ones are very similar. Now we're going to pull back, consolidate, and then eventually head back towards the upside, but it's going to take a lot longer to shape out. Names like Microsoft, after they've consolidated for a while or have had like a support bounce, these ones now look a lot better for like an all-time highs push. Names that are something similar like Nvidia that's been consolidating for a while, right? These are the ones that we want to focus on. SNDK and INTC, right? These ones are in good key technical spots with low risk. That's why he offers like a nice bounce play, but don't try and time the bottom on these ones. Very hard, especially now with market structure breaking. You can either do one of two things, right? Start to slowly dollar cost average, or right, you want to trade names with higher time frames, more so more momentum, right? Just because it's now in a good key technical area, it's just going to take a lot longer, right? Like a Palantir or like a Hood. So what are some other good examples that have recent pullbacks, right? The best example I can give you is something like Palantir. After a very large run up, right? After this initial pullback, it's eventually going to head back towards the upside, right? Hood's a very good example of this as well. Okay, let's go on to, yeah, there's a couple other names that look good coming into market open. HPE, we have Dell as well. You can see Dell, a couple of reactions last week. Dell looks really good on the higher time frames. If you can get back above that all-time highs, continuation towards the upside. Key levels that I have marked out on Dell is 470, right? 470 break above, hold for continuation back up in towards that 490. So keep an eye out on Dell. Take a look at HPE here as well. A lot of retails on this. Twitter's all over this one. But as you can see, daily chart shaping up nicely. Higher lows are being built above our last week's highs. HPE has room up in towards 58 and above here. Key technical levels that we have marked out really is at 53. So above our previous highs. Now we just like to see it above our last week's highs for continuation up and towards 58 and above. Is that Discord price only the one you offer? I mean, do you offer different tiers or all the same? It's all the same, but different tiers. You have the monthly, then you have yearly, and then you also have the lifetime as well. Okay, with that being said, let's go over the game plan coming to market open, and then we are going to get ready for today. It does seem like we are now flipping red here in the pre-market, so a little bit of rejections here. Now we're getting back underneath that previous day highs. SPY we are digging a little bit deeper into that previous day's range. So coming to market open, the thesis is still tack. We're a little bit more neutral. We like to see it above our previous day highs if you want to see any sort of continuation coming into market open. But for today, keep an eye on that previous day highs along with that previous day lows. If I was to refine the level, we can kind of just refine this previous day highs up into that 774. And then we could also mark out kind of this level here as well. This is a smaller level. That's why you can see a little bit of a bounce in the pre-market. But really the main level, previous day highs along with that previous day lows, you can also mark out the middle of the range here as well. But for the SPY, we like to see it above that previous day highs for any sort of continuation. Qs, we like to see it above our previous day highs and preferably above that 726. So with that being said, we already had that weekly outlook. Let's take a look at some of the major watches coming into today. We'll keep an eye on Tesla right off that 327 coming to market open. As for AMD, this one has been consolidating as of recent. Let's keep an eye on that 500 along with that 470 coming to market open. I do like Nvidia here right off that 225. If you can get back above this one, above our previous day highs, we can see some continuation higher. What are some other names that I like for continuation? Really today I like Microsoft. This one's still bullish on the higher time frames. Let's keep an eye on Microsoft higher low on the hourly. Meta, I do like quite a bit. So Meta, this above this flat top coming into market open. We're above our earnings high here as well. So keep an eye on Meta above our 600. And then other names that I do like, SpaceX. We are seeing a little bit of a pullback here now in the pre-market, but the previous day highs hold on SpaceX is going to be key coming to market open. So let's keep an eye on that previous day highs, 135 for continuation back towards the upside. So Microsoft, Meta, SpaceX coming to market open. AVGO still looks solid. And then we'll keep an eye out on Palantir for continuation coming into this week. And then the rest of the semiconductors you can see are actually a lot weaker, right? MU, SNDK, INTC. If it wants to maintain weakness or if the market does want to pull back here today, definitely could see a potential flip on a couple of these semiconductors. Like SNDK actually looks really good underneath this key level support. Right, this is our earnings low. You can see buyer stepped in again on Friday. But if we can give up this previous day lows and this earnings low, SNDK has room down down in towards our 12 or 11 20 and potentially below here. So very key level support on SNDK. Underneath, we can see room all the way down in towards our 1100. If we do bounce, of course, we can see just that pushback towards the upside. So semiconductors a little bit weaker. So we'll continue to look at those ones if they do want to see a potential pullback here. The main names that look strong, Microsoft, Meta, SpaceX had a nice bounce on Friday. So we'll continue to keep an eye on SpaceX. And then like AVGO, Palantir. Those are the main ones for a push towards the upside. Okay, if NQ holds below that hourly level, should we look for shorts and be hands off, or what are your opinions? Right off the bat, at least within the first 10 to 15 minutes, right? We're going to be a little bit more patient. Let's say the first 5 to 15 minutes, we start pushing towards the upside aggressively. Then we can look for some sort of potential long above our previous day highs for a continued push higher, right? SPY, similar thing. Let's say if we get above our previous day highs within the first 10 to 15 minutes, then we can look for a pushback towards the upside. If we just kind of reject, if the first 10 to 15 minutes kind of is in between its previous day's range, we reject off our previous day highs, then we're going to be a little bit more hands off right off the bat. The longs, we need it above our longs. There's two scenarios that we're going to be looking for on longs. Above our previous day highs and above this 30,000 for continuation, or now we'd be looking for some sort of higher low, offer 29,700 for continuation higher. Right now, currently, we kind of are rejecting here in the pre-market. So we'd like to see it, as I mentioned above, or this higher low to develop. Right now, with us kind of rejecting here in the pre-market, we're going to be a little bit more patient coming into market open. Similar thing here on SPY. We need it above our previous day highs if we want to see continuation. SMCI, this one does have earnings as well this week. For SMCI, we're just going to wait for after earnings, but currently so far we're kind of rejecting here above our previous day highs. SMCI does look good for a move back towards the upside. We had this pop. Now we just want to see the break above our 33 key level of resistance. A couple of reactions here on SMCI above now this 33, hold for continuation back towards the upside here as well. So with that being said, that's going to be it for me today. I'm going to get ready for market open here now. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below. That being said, I am going to call it a day here, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care everyone. Peace.